In previous sessions, we learned how to acquire domain hosting, how to install WordPress on cPanel or locally. From this section, we will learn how to work with the WordPress panel. In the first step, let's go to the WordPress dashboard. The WordPress dashboard, when I log into WordPress, shows me a page like this, where I have a series of menus on the right side and a series of tools available at the top of the page, starting from the top. When we hover over the name of the website we have in mind, we can view our site from that section. This is now the site where I have only installed WordPress as a sample for now. Now, seeing my updates, my comments, and new items I can create are shown. On the left side, it also shows my profile, indicating what name I am using. I can edit that profile, log out, or log in. In the dashboard, there are several sections that provide me with general data. Now, since I used WordPress 6.3.1, it has mentioned that it has these features. If I scroll down, for example, it gives me the site health status. Since it hasn't been able to gather data yet, it tells me some general things like how many posts I have, how many comments I have, and I can write some drafts or check WordPress news and events. It shows me the toolbar in the activity section. On my right side, I have a series of menus like posts, media, pages, comments, appearance, plugins, users, and tool settings. Each of these offers a set of features that I can use. In the upcoming sessions, we will learn how to use each of these one by one. Now, the next section I have on my dashboard is the updates section, which I open when needed. It tells me what version it is and which plugins I can update, just to the extent that I can update my WordPress from the update section. But right now, our version is complete, so it doesn't need an update. In this section, we are going to learn how to work with WordPress posts. But before that, we need to know what functions these posts have. In WordPress, I can place a series of news and articles in the posts section. Every website you visit definitely has a news and articles section, and it's important where I upload each of these. If I'm going to upload and create a contact page, I don't need to put it in the post section. I am absolutely certain about this. There is no doubt in my mind, and I assure you with confidence. In every scenario, the outcome is the same, and I affirm this without hesitation. It's clear, and I stand by this assertion. On the right side, I have the post section. When I hover over it, it brings up several submenus for me, sir. I have all posts, add new post, categories, and tags. When I go into all posts, all the posts and entries that I have entered into WordPress are listed here for me, and I only have one here, which WordPress has entered by default, and it's called Hello World. The next section of my pane I have is Add New Post, which allows me to enter a post. We will cover this in more detail later. The next item I have is the Categories section. Certainly when I want to enter a blog or a piece of news, I need to have a category for it to have it categorized. For example, now I want to launch a site in the field of coding, in the field of writing articles. I want to post news. I want to include the latest articles from around the world on my website. But of course, I need to categorize these. For instance, these are related to WordPress. These are related to, say, CSS. And this is for HTML. So I need a place to do this categorization. Our categorization becomes the section. If it has a default categorization system, I can now edit it. So that when I open it, and it asks me, sir, tell me its name. What name do you want to give it? The slug or permalink, guys, is the URL that my category has. Anything we add in WordPress, whether in the post section, pages, or products, definitely has an address that I can give to the user. And from that address, we can see the content in that section. So the category also has an address like this, and I can set its address here. In the next section, I can define a category and create subcategories for it, and I can select it from the parent category section. If I want to write a description for that category, which will also be displayed on the site, I can place it in this section. This is for the update section. Date. It also has a quick edit option where when I click on it, it says, "Sir, you can edit the name and slug in this section." The next topic is the display section, meaning I can also see this category I created on the site. When I open it, it says, "Sir, you have a page named Uncategorized Category, and it contains content that says Hello World," which is the default content that WordPress brings in the posts. If I want to create a new post, I can put its name here, for example. WordPress course. It says, "Sir, enter the slug for me." I can enter it in Persian or write it in English. It depends on you, sir, how your site structure is. Do you want to go with all these titles in Persian, or do you want to go in English? The next parts are categories, as I mentioned to you. Now I can choose for this to go under the same uncategorized section. Well, in the description parts, if I have any explanation, I can write it for it. When I add this, it brings it up on the left for me, saying, "Sir, you have now created this WordPress Plus course, and it is a category and has an address." Now, guys, I can change the name from the default uncategorized category of WordPress, and I can make all these changes to it and even delete it. I can delete it now. And now I want to edit this, write its name as blog, and write the slug as blog in English and update it. When I return to the categories, I see that I have a category named blog. Now I want to add a subcategory to it, which I will call WordPress, to here as well. And I can set its parent or parent category to blog, meaning the hierarchy it automatically creates will be the parent category it has. When I click add, my WordPress will become a subcategory of my blog. When I click display, it will bring up a page for me, which currently has no content. This is my categorization section. The next section I have is the tags section. Or actually, tags used to be much more useful in the past, but now they are less so. I can add a series of tags or subcategories, meaning that if I write an article, for example, on how I can work with the posts section of WordPress, and I want to produce it as an article. On my site, I categorize it under WordPress. Then I define a few hashtags or tags for it. So, for example, I write something like posts section. Guys, I can leave the slug in description empty. If I leave the slug empty, it will automatically generate it based on the content for me. Or for example, I write tutorial on working with posts. I can add a series of tags here, and later when adding posts or a new post that I want to add, I can assign these to it, mark it as a main article. These can also be edited quickly and have a display option. Now, I've created my tags and categories here. And now I want to create a new post for myself. When I go to the post section and click on add new post, it gives me a message saying, "Sir, you are working with the block editor." Or actually, the default editor it has is called Gutenberg. We had an older version of the editor called the classic editor, which is what we used to work with before. This new one is called Gutenberg. We can still install the classic editor plugin, and that return my content editing to the previous state. But for now, we are working with this. If you see that it has taken the full width focus on my writing, now if I want to change this mode and access the WordPress menu, I can click on these three dots on the left and disable the full width or full screen mode. Now here, I want to create an article named Content Writing Tutorial in Word will be the title of my article. It says, "Sir, you can also add a text." Now I'll go and find a sample text. Actually, guys, when we want to put sample content on the site, we also use lorem ipsum content. We search on Google and find these sites that generate this content, and we copy the text. I can come to this section and paste the content I have. Sir, I didn't have any text. I can both place the content simply, and when I click below this content, an addition is made for me, which when I click on it, it says Add Block. It provides me with a series of tools. Sir, you can add a paragraph, image, title, gallery, list, and other options. It has many options for me, so I can choose whatever I need from these based on the content I want to write. I can add or write the quote you want to write, for example. Here I can write about working with the post section in WordPress. On the left side, it also gives me some edits, sir, to increase or decrease the size. I'll put the spaces in and the rest of the section. I'll come back to the post tab. I'll say now I've entered the password. On the left, it gives me a bunch of other tools. It's going to be visible or not. I can choose whether the content I'm writing is public, private, or protected with my password. When I set it to public, everyone can see this content. When I set it to private, only people who are logged into my site can see it, can see this content. And password protected, I can also set a password for the content. You can do this based on your needs. The next topic is the publication of this article. I have a feature that allows me to publish the content immediately, or I can set a date for it. Here, my date is in English, and later we will learn how to convert this date to the Persian calendar. But I can provide the day and time, and my content will go live at the time I want. The template, which we don't deal with, we leave it in its default state. The next section is the part about the writings, where, similar to the slug for the categories, I can do this. I can change the address of the content I have, but right now it doesn't allow me to do that. Later, I'll tell you how I can make it so that I can define an address for this writing as well. Pinned to the top means that if I have 10 articles, this article will be displayed with higher priority above all others. The next section gives me the option to set it as pending review, meaning I can check this option and say that I don't want it published yet, and someone needs to review and approve it. I can choose the author of this article, whether it's myself or any of the other administrators defined in this WordPress. And move to trash means that I don't want this content and I want it to go to the trash, just like in cPanel. And direct admin, WordPress has this option where I can send the content to the trash or recycle bin once, and from there I can bring it back again. My site, or I can delete it. Up to this point, these are the basic features that my writing has. Now the summary for me is that this tab here allows me to define its visibility, whether everyone can see it or not, its publication date, its template, which we don't deal with, its URL, pinning it to the top, pending review, and the author. There's also a section where I have the option to fill this content. Guys, the next tab I have is the category section. If you remember, we learned that we can define categories. Now I can define categories for my articles or news. This allows me to use the categories. I have selected, I want to put this on WordPress under the subcategory of blog, and I can even define a new category. Okay. The next section I have is the tags section. Here, it doesn't list the tags I can define, but I can search for them to bring them up. If it's a new topic and it's not there, I can add it. It automatically creates it. And any tag I don't want, I can remove. The next feature available to me is the featured image section. I can define an image for my post, and when I click on it, it opens my media manager. We'll learn later where this is actually being stored. I can now choose an image, either by going to Google or within the site itself. I can save an image or upload the one I have in mind from my computer. Now I'll take an example from the site itself and use it. The image that is appearing here for me right now, I want to save it. I right-click and save it. Now I can either select this image from the computer or drag the image I have into this area where the color changes. It says to drop it here. Once it's uploaded, I click on the thumbnail of that card image. The next tab I have, guys, is the summary section. It says, "Sir, you can put a few lines of summary of the content you have here for me." But this section is optional, guys. It also mentions that in some templates, I have the option to either display the entire content or write a summary for a part that isn't clear. The next section, guys, is the discussion or commenting part, which we'll get to later. For example, what is it? Here I can choose whether to allow discussions on this post or not, meaning I can give people the right to come and leave their comments below my content. Up to this point, I've explained the settings related to the post. Now, to publish it, up here, I have the publish button up here. When I click on it, it asks me if I want to publish it now and make it visible to everyone. I say, okay, yes, let that happen, and I hit publish, and my content gets published. If I copy this and open it in a new tab, it brings up the text I have, even though we're not dealing with its template right now because it's a free WordPress template. But the image I have includes the text and other elements. If I go to the categories section, I currently have a post in the WordPress category. You see, it shows the number next to it for me. And if I click on it, I go to the post section. And it displays all the content that has been categorized under it for me. If I now display WordPress itself, you see the content it has. The Hello World content didn't have an excerpt, but since we set an excerpt for this one, it shows it to me. In the next sections, we'll learn how to work with other parts of WordPress, like media and pages. I've now fully explained this writing section to you. Stay with us. The next section we will work on is the comments section in WordPress. It's a very important part that is significant both for the credibility and trust of users in the site and for SEO. This is the comments section. On every page I create on my website, I can provide this feature to my users, allowing them to give their opinion about the website at the bottom of that page. Now, when I provide this feature, I also have the management section in the WordPress panel, because I might not want all the comments I receive to be displayed, or I might want to respond to the comments that are coming in. And this option is available to me. In the WordPress panel, in menu 45, I also have a section called Comments. When I click on that, it brings up all the comments that have been made on my website for all my posts. I have a series of menus up here that tell me how many comments there are in total, and have added some features for me, like which comments are mine or which ones I have responded to. Pending approval means that someone has left a comment, but it hasn't yet been approved by me to be displayed. I have the option to set whether the comment is automatically published on the site or not. I must approve it. There's also a spam section for comments that are not appropriate or correct, where I can change their status to spam. For the trash section, those that I have deleted. Now, WordPress has added a comment for me, which is here. Now I want to go to the post I created and leave a comment. Whenever I scroll down, there is a comment section. But guys, there's a difference when I'm logged into the system. It only tells me to write my comment. If I come to the site as a regular user who doesn't have access to the panel, meaning I'm not logged in, when I want to leave a comment, it asks me for some information. It asks, "Sir, what's your name, your email, and your website?" All are required except for the website. I want to leave a sample comment. So I write, "This comment is for testing." And I also write my name. Everyone writes their email. Regarding the website, whether I want it or not, it's optional. Checked in. We usually disable this website on those websites, meaning we remove it from display. Done. There's also a checkbox that says you can save the information, so the next time you come, I can bring it up for you so you won't have to enter it again. They click on Submit Comment here, and it tells us that your comment is under review. This comment is also for testing. Now I go back to the previous page. If I come to the comments section, refresh it, and it tells me, "Sir, you have a new one pending approval." I come and read its content. There are several actions I can take here, guys. First of all, it gives me some data saying, "Sir, this is the table I want, this is the site, this is the email, and this is the IP that came to the site." I can accept the comment, or I can reject it. If I want to accept it, I click on Accept. If I want to reject it, I click on R. Click on Reject to directly delete it. This depends on me, and I can edit it. I can even change the author of the comment, but I want to accept it now. So I click on Accept. If I go to the website, this comment will now be displayed on my website. But later, I can still come back and either delete it or move it to spam and also edit it. Now, as a second user, or the same user, I can give a response here, or I can provide a response myself. For example, if I am a guest, I can give any response I have in mind related to that comment. And if I refresh this, my page it says, "Sir, there was a comment where someone wrote this and someone else responded to it. I can freely respond to this comment or opinion. Now, if I don't want it, I can delete it, saying, 'Sir, this is trash, don't display it anymore,' and I can also restore it again." And in this section, I can also work with comments. When your website receives traffic, certainly many comments will come, and surely there will be spam and unnecessary comments as well. Later, we will learn how to configure it so that bots don't write comments. We can set up some CAPTCHAs for it. What does CAPTCHA mean? A security word, or that security image that you've definitely seen on websites, it says, "Sir, for example, enter the image in front of you for me." Certainly when I do this, I can prevent spam or bots from entering my site to post unnecessary comments. So in this section, I learned how I can work with comments. Well, in this section, I'm going to learn about media management. What is media management anyway? Any image, video, podcast, or audio file that I upload to my website is possible. Because right now, as we wanted to, create the post here, we could upload the image we had in mind, and anything I upload in any section, I can use it as needed and access it in the media management section to manage it. Yeah. When I go to the media section, there's a filter at the top that allows me to show all media, whether it's an image, audio, or document, meaning a PDF file. And it gives me a series of options. I can also filter by dates and search through them. If I open any of them, it provides me with some data. I can even change the title of the image, write a brief description for it, or write alternative text, which we know later on is useful for what purpose and beneficial for SEO. Down here, it also has a series of options to delete it, or even D. When I click on Add, it tells me, "Sir, you can upload other files." When I upload from here and want to add a new post in the writing section and click on the images section, in the images section, it gives me an option that says either upload or use your library. It goes into my library and sits there. And another option it has is that I can delete it individually, or I can select multiple items, click on them, and delete them. This feature is available to me from my right side, from the Add section. When I click on it, I can add new media, as many as I want, meaning I can do it one by one, or even several at a time. From this section, I can manage my media. Alright guys, today we're going to get familiar with managing pages and understanding where we should use pages. Whenever we want to create any page like About Us, Contact Us, the main page, or Services, we use pages. Whenever we want to create a blog, we use posts. So to create a page, we go into the page management and click on Add New. It has a series of options that are exactly like the posts, such as the title, and the description we are going to write for that page, as well as visibility options, like whether I want to set it as public, private, or protected. We've already become fully familiar with these. I can define its publication date to be immediate or scheduled for a later date that I specify. I can also set its slug or URL. I can mark it as pending review, meaning I can define that someone comes in as an operator in my system to add the content, and then I, as the admin, can approve it later. I specify as author, I can define a featured image for it, and I can add a summary of that content. Guys, summaries are not very useful on pages, and are mostly used in posts. To enable comments or views on that page, we can grant access here so that the page I'm creating now can either receive comments or not. And the parent page bar is where I define a parent page for this page, meaning what? I have a site in the marketing field, and now it has a services section. Services become a single page. Now I come to the services section and add a site design. I set the parent page of the site design to services, which helps with SEO and also improves the order and display. So if I want to place a page as a subpage of another page, I define a parent page for it. And every time I add pages, they appear in the list of pages for me. So just like posts, I can edit them, delete them, or perform other actions.